Picture this: a rookie quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, is finally getting his shot. The locker room is humming with possibility, and then the franchise's headline-grabbing veteran, Deshaun Watson, quietly gets cleared to come back to practice. Cue the plot twist. ClevelandBrowns.com. The Browns opened Watson's 21-day practice window this week, which means he can practice in a limited capacity while the team evaluates whether he's game ready. If Watson checks the medical boxes during that 3-week stretch, the Browns can activate him to the roster. If not, he stays on injured reserve for the season. That thin deadline makes everything feel urgent, not just for Watson, but for everyone wearing orange and brown. NFL.com, let's be blunt about why this matters. Watson is a big, expensive variable. When Cleveland traded for him and handed him a fully guaranteed mega contract, the expectation was a franchise QB who could change the team's trajectory. Instead, his Browns tenure has been a patchwork of flashes, off-field controversy, and injuries, most notably a ruptured Achilles that required surgery and kept him out for well over a year. The fact that he's now back on the field at all is a medical and narrative headline. But medicine and headlines don't automatically equal a roster revolution. Reuters, meanwhile, the rookie story is playing on center stage. Shedeur Sanders, a fifth-round pick who hadn't gotten many first-team reps, has started the last 2 games and is preparing for his 3rd NFL start. Those are precious audition reps in a season that's already gone sideways. The Browns sit in the kind of territory where every practice, every series, and every film session is being logged into someone's ledger for the offseason. If Watson comes back and looks like Watson, that ledger gets ripped up. If he doesn't, you've still got the messy work of deciding who's worth building around: Sanders, Dillon Gabriel, or another future investment. Yahoo Teithao. There are a few realistic scenarios that deserve unpacking. First, Watson proves he can practice but isn't ready to play. That's the softest outcome for the Browns this season. It gives them extra intel on his rehab and keeps Shedeur's audition intact. Coaches can reintroduce Watson slowly, scout team reps, scripted snaps in practice, and use the final weeks to see how he moves, reads, and throws without disrupting the developmental timeline for Sanders and Gabriel. Practically speaking, that's the least disruptive path. ESPN.com. Second scenario, Watson looks good and the Browns activate him. That's the headline grabber and the messy one. Watson's contract and past pedigree give him a level of entitlement, and the team will face immediate pressure from ownership, from the fan base that wanted their investment to pay off, and from analytics folks who argue in caps and dollar signs. Activating Watson would likely push Sanders and Gabriel back to the bench, potentially stunting their growth and muddying the team's quarterback evaluation heading into the offseason. It would also mean choosing short-term experience over developmental potential, a choice that comes with long-term risks. Reuters' third scenario. Watson practices a bit, looks encouraging, but then suffers a setback, or the team decides the risk outweighs the reward. He goes back to IR. That outcome preserves the Browns' ability to evaluate their younger quarterbacks in real games and protects them from rushing Watson back into action, which would be a medical and football misstep. Given his history, 2 Achilles surgeries and long rehab periods, this conservative route wouldn't be surprising. Reuters, beyond the X's and O's, there's the human and organizational calculus. Cleveland invested heavily in Watson financially and culturally. Publicly admitting that the experiment failed would be messy. But letting an expensive veteran return and immediately supplant a rookie who's quietly earning trust can break locker room momentum and complicate front office decisions about whether to draft a quarterback or spend in free agency. The Browns have already shuffled the deck this year. Joe Flacco was traded, Dillon Gabriel injured, and Sanders thrust into action. And this twist only multiplies the variables. Yahoo Teithao. For Shedeur Sanders, the clock just got louder. Every throw this week, every pocket escape, every moment of leadership in meetings becomes evidence. Coaches will study his progression. Quicker reads, fewer pressured holds, cleaner timing with receivers, and smarter decisions in the fourth quarter. If he shows steady growth, the Browns will have something tangible to pitch into the front office spreadsheet that decides whether to invest draft capital in a quarterback next spring. If he sputters, Watson could easily be the safe narrative to close the season with. Yahoo Tethao. From a fan's point of view, this is delicious chaos. You get a veteran comeback story, a rookie audition, and a front office dilemma wrapped into one 3-week practice window. It's drama with cap implications. It's medicine and momentum. It's a franchise deciding whether to trust the expensive veteran who brought headlines or the young kid who's bringing flashes. Either way, the next 21 days will provide clarity, not certainty, but clarity enough to shape Cleveland's offseason. clevelandbrowns.com. What to watch this week. Notice how Watson moves off platform, what throws he attempts in individual drills, and whether the team eases him into scout team reps. Watch Shedeur's time to throw, the comfort level with his top targets, and whether Kevin Stefanski tweaks game plans to shield or showcase him. Those small film details will tell the real story long before any press conference or roster transaction. ESPN.com Final Frame. This moment is less about a single player and more about how organizations handle messy human projects. Deshaun Watson's return to practice window is a medical step forward, a PR headline, and a strategic pressure test all at once. For Shedeur Sanders, it's an accelerated exam. For the Browns, it's a crossroads. Spend now, hedge later, or rebuild around youth. Whatever path they choose will say a lot about the club's patience, priorities, and appetite for risk. The answers arrive fast now. 21 days, one verdict. Watch closely. The Cleveland Browns walked into Wednesday with one quarterback trying to return from 2 torn Achilles and another fighting to prove he deserved to keep the job. And somehow, both storylines collided into the biggest decision Cleveland has faced in years. Deshaun Watson, the $230 million investment who hasn't taken a snap this season, was officially designated to return to practice. That opens a 21-day window. 21 days for the Browns to figure out whether the guy they once believed was their franchise quarterback can actually take the field again, or whether this season ends with him on injured reserve and even more questions about his future. And right as that window opened, Shedeur Sanders is gearing up for start number 3, a 5th-round rookie, a player who wasn't supposed to touch the field this season behind Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel. A player who's now suddenly in the middle of Cleveland's long-term identity crisis. And here's where it gets messy. Watson was spotted throwing at practice. Real throws, real movement, real hope that he might be able to play. But designated to return doesn't mean anything is locked in. If he doesn't respond well to the increased workload, the Browns can shut it down and officially end his season. So now the Browns are trying to evaluate 2 quarterbacks at the same time. One who's been paid, and one who's been promising. Sanders has shown flashes, poise, arm talent, a calmness under pressure that you can't teach. But he's also shown the growing pains, holding the ball too long, taking unnecessary sacks, playing like someone who didn't get first-team reps until late November. Still, he hasn't looked overwhelmed. And for a franchise that's been desperate for stability, even flashes matter. Meanwhile, Watson's story is a complicated one. 3 Pro Bowls in Houston, a massive guaranteed deal in Cleveland, then the suspension, then the struggles. 19 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and a body that keeps breaking down. He was supposed to be the answer. Instead, he's become the question. And now Cleveland has to decide. If Watson is medically cleared, do you put him back in? Do you justify the contract? Do you chase the upside you paid for? Or do you keep the spotlight on a rookie who might be the start of something new? This isn't just a depth chart problem. This is a philosophical one. It could reshape the Browns' offseason, their draft plans, their cap plans, their identity as a franchise. For Sanders, this next start is more than just another chance to play. It's an audition. It's a